Captain America the Winter Soldier is the latest offering in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that's films range from totally amazing to fine, I guess. Set mostly in the present day, it follows Cap himself as he settles into modern life as a man from a bygone era. A simpler era. An era where punching Nazis was the norm, the government was seemingly on your side, and horrific skeleton men were commonplace. Following on from the events of the Avengers, Captain America the Winter Soldier sees Steve Rogers continuing to do the only thing he understands. Choosing to remain as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., albeit an interesting one I actually want to watch, really highlights the difference between Captain America and the other Avengers. Unlike Thor, who's able to go back to Asgard with his beautiful girlfriend where he literally lives like royalty, and Iron Man, who at the end of the day has to make do with his billion-dollar company, robot butler, and Gwyneth Paltrow, Captain America pours himself into his work. His sense of duty is the focal point of his life, which makes sense considering most of the people that he knew are dead. The Winter Soldier is an excellent and natural continuation of the Captain America story that began with the first Avenger. Whilst the first in the series is very much a film in the vein of a kind of Indiana Jones action-adventure, and the Avengers was a chance for Robert Downey Jr. to be as Robert Downey Jr. as he could, this story tells a very personal, engaging, and socially relevant tale. Joining Chris Evans in the title role are some familiar faces, all of which are terrific. In particular, Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, the contrast of which between her and Rogers makes for an interesting and fiery alliance. We also got a few new additions, including Anthony Mackie's Falcon and Robert Redford's Alexander Pierce, both of which are very welcome inclusions. The team, which really is the Avengers Light, but that in no way is a bad thing, is pitted against the Winter Soldier, among others, who's an impressive and formidable foe who's been assassinating his way across the globe inexplicably for around 60 years. Perhaps there's more to him than initially indicated, or maybe there isn't. It's not for me to say, let's not spoil anything here. But yes, there is more to him. It's possibly too early to say, but Captain America the Winter Soldier could very well be the best entry in the MCU. If not, it's certainly one of the strongest films and easily the best of the Phase 2 movies so far. The action is terrific. Clearly Steve Rogers has been training in between films. I don't think I'll ever get sick of watching him sprint at almost inhuman speed, then hit someone as hard as he can. Not to mention it finds the right moments to add levity, something the other Phase 2 films have struggled with. The movie also, although fitting snugly into the universe, is really unlike anything we've seen before, which I think boils down to an absolutely terrific script. This film is smart, filled with genuinely surprising twists and turns. It's tightly paced, riddled with gripping action scenes including car chases, fist fights, and shield throwing, and even a guy getting kicked into a jet engine, which I love. More of that in every movie, please. That being said, I'm sorry, but I have to give this worst movie ever. Because, and I think you'll agree with me on this, if he's called the Winter Soldier, then he should have a more wintry appearance. Nothing about him says winter. Maybe give him some skis and a nice scarf and a hat. Maybe instead of a metal arm, he could have like a nice hot bowl of soup. You know what I'm talking about. That very true and definitely a real thing that I believe aside, if I were DC, I would be very worried about the damage Cap 3 will now probably do to Batman vs Superman, which currently holds the very same 2016 release date. Captain America is now, much to many people's surprise, a major cinematic drawcard, which is amazing considering how many comic book writers have struggled over the years to make him relevant and cool in the modern day. Some attempts have included turning him into a werewolf. Marvel have now worked out, thanks in no small part to some very well-received titles, that you don't need a gimmick to make him work. It's his sincerity, strong sense of fairness, and most importantly, the fact that you can trust him that makes Steve Rogers an appealing character. As I've said before, not everyone needs to be a wisecracking smartass or a brooding anti-hero, especially if that approach doesn't apply to that specific hero. If anything, Captain America the Winter Soldier proves again that sincerity in heroes can work. I just hope the people at DC are taking notes. Thanks everyone. Now if you'd like to hear more about Captain America, the latest episode of the Weekly Planet podcast, which is my podcast, covers the initially terrible history of Captain America in film, plus weird and interesting alternative versions of the character and other bits and pieces about him. That's out Tuesday on comicbookmovie.com or Monday on iTunes for those subscribed. Next week's episode will be a spoiler-heavy discussion on this film, and it's gonna be great, probably. But what did you think of Captain America the Winter Soldier, and where for you does it rank in relation to the other Marvel films or even comic book movies in general? For me, even though it's early days, it may have actually nudged its way into my top 5, if I had a top 5, which I actually don't. Leave your thoughts below or via my Twitter and Facebook pages, both ending in Mr. Sunday Movies, if you have anything to say about that. Thanks everyone, take care.